Welcome to Mary's Eclectic Interests. Today I'll be making apple crisp and apple muffins. And to make apple crisp, I've already done all the prepping here. I have 4 cups of cut up apples, 2 tablespoons of flour, 1/2 cup of sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. I have your apples, and I'm going to put the flour in here. There we go. It's quite simple. This is raw sugar. I have a tendency to use raw sugar. That is 1/2 cup. And the reason I'm only using 1/2 cup is that I'm using sweet apples. The amount of sugar that you use depends upon the apples you're cooking with. These are sweet apples, so I'm using 1/2 cup. The normal recipe is for 1 cup of sugar. That would be probably for something more tart, such as your Granny Smith apples. Here's my salt. And here's my cinnamon. Now all I'm going to do is coat the apples with this. That's all I'm doing. Nothing exciting at all. Very simple. I've already prepared my pan, and here it is. It's an 8x8, and this one happens to be a metal pan. And I've lined it with parchment paper, which will help on the cleaning after the fact here. So I'm just going to pour all of this in here. Oh, there's one left in there. And that's all there is. Okay. Now as you can see, I put it all in here and I'm just spreading it out a little bit. And it's completely coated. And that's step 1. Very simple. For the topping, we have 1/2 cup of butter, melted, 1/2 cup of brown sugar, 1/2 cup of flour, 1/2 cup of nuts. Those are walnuts, and you don't have to use walnuts, but that's what I happen to have in the house. And 1/2 cup of oatmeal, and that is, of course, your quick cooking oatmeal. Now I'm going to put this over to the side, and basically all I'm going to do is throw that in this bowl here and mix it. So what should I start with? I don't think I want, let's put the oatmeal in first, then the nuts. I'm going to do all my dry ingredients first. My flour. Now the brown sugar, I haven't quite decided if I'm going to use the whole 1/2 cup. The last time I made it, I thought it was a little sugary. I might use, there, a portion of it. Oh well, why not throw it all in? But it might sink down into the apple mixture. So let's throw the whole thing in there. And all I'm doing is, as you can see, I'm just using a fork, and I'm bringing this, trying to get it somewhat together. And now I'm going to put the butter in. Now this butter is still warm. I have my oven set for 350 degrees. Because I'm using a metal pan and not a glass pan, I will be cooking it probably for 45 minutes. Usually it's an hour, but it all, again, depends upon your stove. It depends upon what you're putting it in. Now, because I melted the butter, look at what it's doing. It's there. I know they usually say softened butter, but since I keep all of my butter in the refrigerator or in the freezer, everything is frozen, so I end up putting it in and melting it. Okay, this is what it's going to look like. So let's see how it's going to spread on the top of all those apples. it's not going to spread as nicely as if the butter had been more softened. It's going on there pretty darn good. It's covering everything very well. Okay. Now again, I'm going to be putting this at 350 degrees and I'll set my alarm for 45 minutes. And I'll bring out the finished product later on. See you a little bit. Here's the apple crisp. This turned out great. You can see a little hole there where I tested an apple, and it was a little, I don't like mushy apples, so it was just about, just perfect for me. I like a little crunch to it. So this is all done. This I will not be freezing. I don't know how it would work in the freezer, but I'm not going to freeze it. This will be eaten. I'll leave the little wrap in here until I'm done. Then I'll just pull it out and toss it. And let's take, now this is still pretty hot. So let's get, and you can just see it is hot. It's gonna be, whoa, looking good. And this is what it looks like. Looks good. Add a little ice cream and voila. Welcome back to Mary's Eclectic Interests. Today I'll be making apple muffins. And as you can see, I have everything sitting out here. We have 1.5 cups of flour, 1/2 cup of sugar, 3 teaspoons of baking powder. I didn't have any baking powder, so I did a 2-to-1 substitute. And this one, because it was 3 teaspoons, it would have been 2 teaspoons of cream of tartar and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. In the middle aisle, we have 1 egg, and there's 1/2 cups of milk. And in between, there's 1/4 cup of melted shortening. I use Crisco vegetable shortening, but you can use whatever brand you would like. And in the back, it's supposed to be 1 cup of chopped apples. I had 1 1/3 cup chopped apples. I'm going to leave it that way. As you can see, the apples are already starting to brown, and I just finished chopping those. So we want to get those in our muffins as quickly as possible. Now, for those of you who've seen my previous shows, the reason the egg is in this container here is to see if the egg will go to the bottom. The egg goes to the bottom of the water and doesn't float, and means the egg is good. So this is a good egg. And I'm also going to leave it in here because my egg is safer in here than sitting on the counter where it will just roll off. I'm going to set everything over here now. because I'm going to put my bowl out. And the first thing I'm going to have to do is sift the dry ingredients. Now I have a brand new sifter. My other one broke. And here's my brand new one. It has a little on the side. It goes like this. It has a little wheel here. So the first thing it's telling me to do is sift the dry ingredients. Okay, well that would be your flour. I'm going to see if I can get that in here. Now I'm not going to put the sugar in, and I'll tell you why in a second. I don't think the sugar is going to go through this fine mesh because I'm using raw sugar, which is a bigger, has bigger crystals. But I can do the baking powder and the cinnamon and the salt. We'll do those three, and then I'll whisk in the sugar. Yes, this works quite well. Oh, is this nice? It was worth it. My other one was, I don't know how many, actually I think it was my grandmother's that I was using because I had to get rid of all of mine because I couldn't use the handle where you sifted using, pressing the handle in and out. There we go. Oh, that went quite nice. And there, I'm just going to set this way over here. Here's my sugar, and I'm going to be putting that in. So what I'm going to do is just whisk it in. As I said, it's granulated. I was afraid it wouldn't go through. So I'm just going to use a whisk and blend it in there. And it blends in pretty darn good. I'm going to have to remelt my shortening. Okay, I went to remelt my shortening and I put that on about 30 seconds to see if that would be enough. Now it says to beat the egg and add the milk and shortening and then mix that into the flour. So I think this will be big enough. Yep, that worked pretty good. That worked pretty good. It's pretty well liquefied. A little bit not, but I don't think that little bit is going to matter. And then here's the milk, because that's what it's doing. Beat the egg and add milk and shortening. Well, let's go get something to beat up this egg. Here we go. And all you need to beat an egg is, of course, a fork. It's not that difficult. Okay, we'll put this in. And I hope it doesn't curdle. It is curdling. That's not good. I don't remember it doing that before. Probably because I didn't really read the instructions and I just threw it all together because I do that. Okay, so I'm going to whisk this. I was afraid this was going to curdle, so I went and picked up a whisk. Oops, and I don't want to drip that all over. And it says I'm supposed to put this all in here. And what I dislike about this particular one, and I had this problem before, I don't think they have you put enough liquids in there. It just seems too coarse. So I have added more milk in to this one. So if it doesn't seem like it's going to make, there, let's just see what this does. Because most of the time when you make muffins, your muffin mix has to have some sort of liquids in there. It's just not going to work. Maybe they think the liquids are going to come from the apples. One never knows. They all have their ideas. When I made this before, it says it makes 12, and I did not get 12 out of it. So if things don't look quite right to you, just add. Now, there. Okay, I'm going to add the apples and see what happens. And I think I still would like a little bit more liquid in there. I'm going to pour some more of this in. If it doesn't turn out, I'll let you know. Oh, and I'm doing this whole thing without my apron on. For shame. I'm back with my apron. This is one of the few black blouses I have, and I have a feeling I have to, if I did get any oil or anything on it, I'll use a little bit of Dawn liquid that kind of gets rid of a lot of grease issues. This seems to, yes, this is mixing so much better. Look at this. So I would add a little bit more milk than what they say. Okay, let's see what happens with what I have here. I've already done my muffin tins. I'm using paper liners, as you can see. And it says to fill them about halfway or 2/3. So I'm going to go and get a different, actually this isn't working too bad. There, I'm back again. It's a good thing my kitchen is small. I can always run around and get things. Let's get rid of this. Then I end up doing, no, I can't put that there. There, I got a big mess on my freezer. And once I get these all in the muffin tins, there's a topping for this that has to be made. And I have the ingredients sitting on the back counter, and I'll bring those forward. And maybe these will be a little bit better than my last ones. I didn't think they had much substance. See how many I can get in the other one. And if I have leftover, then I can just kind of add it to the ones that seem to be a little small or have less in them. This is the topping. Let's get it all in order. I like things in order, see. 1/4 cup of brown sugar, 1/4 cup of brown sugar, 1/4 cup of nuts. Again, those are walnuts, and 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. So I'm going to mix those 3 together. There. All right. It says just put them all together. There we go. And here it is. Here's my fork. And these are baked at 400 degrees. Again, I'm using they're metal muffin tins, so they bake faster. Usually it's 25 to 30 minutes, and I discovered it was more 15 to 20 minutes in my particular muffin tins. So basically all I'm doing is, it's no big deal. You just take a little fork and you'll notice that all my nuts are not the same size because I did them myself. So let's put a little bit of this topping on. But I do like the consistency of this much better, and I think it has to do with the fact that I'm using a whole wheat all-purpose flour, and not the all-wheat white flour that we used to use way back in the 70s. Well, no, actually, I think this was from the 80s. There, well, I think we have that pretty much done. And in the oven they go. I set my timer for 15 minutes. If I need more time, it's easier to add the time than to figure out what to do when you've overcooked your muffin. And that's all there is right now, and I'll bring out the finished product later on. These are my apple muffins. And again, these turned out quite nice. Perfect, actually. I've already eaten one. I will take one off for you to see. And I'll end up eating that one again. So let's pull this over a little bit. And let's take this. And I'll take this little one because I've already eaten one of these. Okay. So as I had mentioned, I put a little bit more milk in this recipe because of the flour that I was using. Now you can't really see the apples because it blends in with the muffin mixture. But I can taste it in every bite. So, bon appetit. Thank you for watching Mary's Eclectic Interests. I hope you enjoyed the show. Take care and have a safe day.